songs, let me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
You're creating memories that last lifetimes, right? And so I have so much appreciation for the people who work within this community. People say it takes a village, to raise a family, to raise a child. And, the coaches, in my opinion, the park directors who are part of these communities play a really, really meaningful role in, nourishing and educating, kids that grow up to lead.
Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Rec Show from the 2025 LRPA Convention. In this episode, we're on the expo floor talking real solutions for real challenges facing parks and rec departments today. Dave Ramirez of Outdoorlink sits down with Joe of Ballboards to break down how sponsorships, technology, and smarter systems are helping parks unlock new revenue without adding more hats to wear. From community impact to sustainable funding, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. Let's dive in.
Good morning and welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. This is Dave Ramirez, National Parks and Rec Specialist for Outdoorlink, which is a partner here of the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Getting basically live from Baton Rouge, Louisiana at the Parks and Recreation Association conference here. They're celebrating their 80th year, which is amazing. It's been a great event here the past couple of days. As I'm working the show and stuff, I get to meet people. So I'm across here, the aisleway over in the expo hall from Joe. So I asked Joe to jump on with us and tell a little bit about himself and his company. So Joe, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here in good company. I've got a good neighbor across the aisle. So
You got it.
I've enjoyed my time here. I live in New Orleans, so I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away from Baton Rouge. Spent some time in school here. Actually have a business up here. I'm in the restaurant business and got a few of them, and one of them is up here. But kind of grew up in the New Orleans area in Jefferson Parish as a park rat. I think as a lot of people who end up working in Parks and Rec are.
I grew up in Parks and Recreation before my career. Yes.
Yeah. That's what I've come to find out is that's where you fall in love with Parks and Rec. When you're a kid, you grow up, you're in all sports. So, now I have kids who are playground age, and so volunteer coach, a lot of baseball for the boys, and got to know a park director at my local playground. He asked me to join the booster club there, suggested that they needed help with a few things.
Yeah, they got you.
Yeah. And so I had a list of things I was voluntold to do. So, the director was talking to me about, his list of wants and needs for the playground. Just a passionate guy, really cares about the kids and the families in the community, and wanted the best for his park. And so he had a wish list, and I looked at the budget and couldn't really reconcile those two things. And so I started asking him what other revenue opportunities that he had at his disposal for this park. Really their revenue opportunities were concessions and sponsorships. And so they weren't doing much in the way of sponsorships at the time. Certainly not, in my view, what the community would have supported, although I don't think he realized it at the time. And I did not want to be the guy to recommend that we jack up the concession stand prices. So
smart call.
Yeah. So persona non grata, I guess I would have become. So I sort of spearheaded our sponsorship program, and tried to make some changes to the way we were implementing things. One of the things that I looked at early on, I'm a systems guy, right? So I'm in the restaurant business, as I mentioned, and you have to have systems for that. You need people who are running it for you. And in order for them to have success, they've got to have a good framework. And so I looked at, the system that was in place and but there were wonderful people on the board running things before me. And they were doing their best and, you know, rolling their sleeves up and getting a lot of stuff done. And the other people who are on the board with me now are doing the same thing. But I was able to pretty quickly recognize that it was obvious why we weren't having as much success as we should. You know, really, we didn't have the system in place for sustained success, and boards turnover over time. And, you know, we were managing everything off of not great spreadsheet, and we're missing contact information, and we were missing renewals, and they had banners that were up on the fences that looked like they hadn't been paid for in years, and in reality that was the case. And so what I did is I created a platform for it, and this was almost 3 years ago now. And as we sit here today, I think we've 30x'd the revenue for that park. And that money really, I mean, I get to see firsthand, you know, what good it can do. Right.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
so, you know, our director has been able to check a lot of items off of his list as a result of that. And then it just becomes recurring revenue for the park year after year. And, you know, some of that money is used for uniforms and facility upgrades, and some of it is used to help families in need, you know, who can't afford X, Y, or Z within the park. And now the Booster Club can help with that. And so, you know, we had so much success at this playground within, you know, at our park, that some other parks within Jefferson Parish Recreation Department started taking notice and started asking how we were doing this. And, you know, we ended up just, you know, building the platform out for all of these parks. And we do it for some schools as well. We're really solving the same problem, right?
Mhm.
And so effectively, my company is Ballboards. Effectively, what we do is we build out online storefronts for parks, schools, recreational facilities, and we make it easy for them to sell sponsorships themselves. So they now have a link to a storefront where their prospective sponsors can go and shop inventory. They can look at what the different signage options are, including packages with location and orientation of signs illustrated. They can upload and edit artwork files directly on the site, and then they can process their orders directly on the site. We'll vet, you know, that everything that's purchased is appropriate for parks and recs and for schools. And then we'll print, we'll coordinate printing, we'll get proofs approved, we'll print, and we'll drop ship, you know, these signage, these banners directly to the sites. And so it really takes a lot of the workload off the parks and rec facilities, right? Now, instead of being a part-time salesperson, all you're doing is sharing a link with your community of supporters, and make it easy for people who may be interested in supporting the park to do so. And that was the missing link, you know, within our park. And, you know, as I come to a place like this and start talking to people, I just realize how common this problem is. And so I think it's a really good opportunity. It's been a tremendous experience. It's one of the, it's rare that you come across something that's a win all the way down the line, right? It's a win for our sponsors, because businesses are desperate for opportunities to engage with their community. Grassroots marketing is very typically a heavy lift, right? But not with these sign sponsorships, not when you can centralize it, not when you can give them the opportunity to, you know, put their banners at every field within a rec department, or every park within a broader rec department in one felt swoop. And so our corporate sponsors have been really, really grateful for the opportunity. Every one of our park sponsors has raised more money with us than they did before us, every single one.
That's great.
And in that process, we're saving them a lot of work, right? I mean, anybody who does this as a Booster Club member or as a rec director understands that it's a hassle to find sponsors, or at least it can be. And then, you know, you've got to chase down payment. You've got to collect artwork. That's the wrong aspect ratio. This is a low image file quality. It's just not going to print well. So there's all these this never-ending back and forth, email exchange between where you're playing middleman between the printing company and prospective sponsors, and it's a lot of work. And so, and then not only that, it's hard to keep track of who paid when and who's up for renewal and all of these things. So we have dashboards for our venue partners where we illustrate all of that, right? Not only do they get to see what percentage of their space is filled, it's a business system, right?
Right.
They get to see what needs to be installed, what needs to be removed. We have automated email program where we're going to go out and solicit renewals on your behalf automatically, right? So we know when the contract starts and when it ends. And we'll start sending out those emails for with renewals links 60 days in advance of expiration, so that there's no downtime. Right. There's a big difference between renewing every 12 months and renewing every 15.
Yep.
Right. And so many times that's what happens. And you're leaving a lot of money on the table. This conference, like many across the country, they're filled, with rec departments who have tons of empty fence space. Right. And we want to be respectful of the aesthetic, but we also want to understand that, this unused fence space is lost revenue. Right. It's an opportunity for sponsorship dollars that can do an awful lot of good. And so we're having a blast, just trying to connect, these parties and to be a facilitator for these sponsors to connect directly with the rec departments. And I know your history, Dave. I know how long you spent in Parks and Rec. And so I have I think you have a very good understanding of how many hats you guys have to wear and how many directions you get pulled in.
My career before Outdoorlink was the athletic director for Hillsborough County, Tampa Bay area of Florida. So, I had 55 sports complexes, and they were all individual leagues that they were run. So these are volunteer-based organizations that are running programs because there wasn't enough of us in Hillsborough County to be at so many places. So we gave agreements out, and they ran their youth sports leagues. The advertising, for banners or whatnot, we had guidelines and we encouraged, but that was on them. And a lot of, like you said, they're volunteers. They have jobs, they have families, so it doesn't get there. And it always seems like, youth sports programs could always use that extra funding. The county, the city, we do the best we can. We'll provide maintenance, that kind of stuff. But there's always that situation where extra funding is needed. And that's where those banners and advertisements come in. And you got to do it properly. You do it right, which you've done. It's just really streamlined the whole process. And I see it's way more for me. If I was a director for athletics and my league was using your program, I see it much more. You can see accountability, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, people just pop a banner up on the fence and, where does banner come from? You know what I'm saying? Everybody thinks, oh, we could just advertise here. You know what I'm saying? So, and then, you had mentioned about, certain businesses and, you have to check to make sure it's all cleared and follows guidelines, because, in my facilities were county facilities. So there were guidelines, sizes, that had to be met. The content had to be appropriate. So
materials, right? The material,
too.
Some of the signs, and it is amazing that people just go and place a banner up on a fence. And, if it's the wrong material, it could damage the fence. It could be a heavy wind load on the fence in the event of a storm. So
it's definitely could be a maintenance issue and a safety issue.
That's
for
right.
sure. For sure. Yeah. Yes. So no, it sounds like you guys got it happening, man. And I know you're here in Louisiana, and hey, if this is a platform, if people will get to learn a little bit about you guys and stuff, I'm sure they'll be reaching out. We have a great following here on the Daily Parks and Rec Show. So with that being said, I want to share a video with you, man. You said you're also a coach. You know what I'm saying? You coach your kids' sports team. So got a little video that's in the can here from the Daily Parks and Rec Show. And I'm just going to play it and get your thoughts on it. All right?
Sure.
All right. Let me see if I could find it here.
Yes.
Give me 1 second. There we go. And we are.
When we talk about essential services, what comes to mind? Police, firefighters, healthcare. But there's another essential service, often overlooked, yet always present: parks and recreation. Parks and Rec is health. It's the walking trail that lowers blood pressure, the recreation center where seniors fight isolation, the swim lessons that prevent tragedy before it happens. This isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. Parks and Rec is safety. A playground instead of a street corner, a basketball court instead of trouble, a summer camp where every child belongs. It's not just about activity, it's about protection, prevention, and possibility. Parks and Rec is community, the festival that brings neighbors together, the cultural event that teaches respect and diversity, the open space where a city breathes. It builds bridges where division once stood. It gives people a reason to gather, to connect, to care. And Parks and Rec is economics. It strengthens property values. It drives tourism through events and trails. It saves on healthcare costs. Every dollar invested multiplies, feeding back into schools, into safety, into growth. Essential service is not just about survival, it's about thriving. And Parks and Recreation is where thriving begins. In wellness, in equity, in culture, and in joy. Parks and Rec isn't extra, it's essential. For our health, for our safety, for our communities, for our future. A message from the Parks and Recreation community.
All right, and we're back. Joe, what do you think, man? I think it speaks volumes.
It's powerful stuff, and it's true, right? I mean, these rec facilities are the beating hearts of communities, right? I mean, I look back onto my childhood, and it's why families are gathering, cheering here, creating memories that last lifetimes, right?
Yep.
And so, I have so much appreciation for the people who work within this community. People say it takes a village, to raise a family, to raise a child. And, the coaches, in my opinion, the coaches, the park directors who are part of these communities play a really, really meaningful role in, nourishing and educating, the kids that grow up to lead. So it's
yeah. Oh, like I said,
near and dear to my heart.
Yep. I was one of those kids.
Yeah.
My coaches, my park and rec leaders, when I was a kid, they ended up, guiding me into the field that I did for 32 years. You know what I'm saying? And it's just it's a great to be a parks and rec professional. They're people, they give it their all. There's love involved, you know what I'm saying, in what they do, and they just want to offer a better better activities, better lifestyle, and we definitely, appreciate that. So listen, Joe, what you guys got going on, I love it. You know what I'm saying? As we come, this is my 7th, annual conference for our Parks and Rec Association in 7 weeks. I have been traveling the country, and I get to meet so many different people and vendors. And like I said, we got talking over there, and I think you guys got a nice niche going, and I think it's going to work, and people going to want that. It's technology. It's like what we're doing in Outdoorlink. You got to go ahead and make things easier for folks to do, so they could go ahead and do more important things. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just one of those, it's a time management type situation, from what I used to do, like, when lights don't get turned off and I have to send somebody to turn a light off, that burned time where that person could be doing better things or other more important things than just flipping a switch. You guys, like I said, these volunteers, these league direct board members, they need the time, to go ahead and focus on the league itself and not really figuring out banners and sponsors and stuff like that. And then again, a lot of these are volunteers, so
That's
they
right.
got their home life and their family. So
Yeah,
I think it's a really cool concept what you got going on.
and it becomes about continuity as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Particularly when you're dealing with volunteers, board members turn over, kids graduate, move on to, high school and away from Parks and Rec and so on and so forth. And a new board member this is a story I hear all the time. A new board members will come in and they're really, really charged up to make a difference for about 3 months.
Yeah.
And then it kind of, fizzles out a little bit. And so
Yep.
that's where we can really help, because it's a sustainable platform that can create continuity, and you're not dependent on the temporary engagement of a new board member. So it's fun.
Man, it's great stuff, man. Well, I'm hoping this show's been well for you.
It's been great.
It's again, just I always recommend, the last person I interviewed was a year in the field, and you guys are sort of coming into a market now, and I just say, man, talk to people, network, because that's what makes Parks and Rec businesses, professionals successful.
Yeah, that's great
the more people you know and the more you intake. So hey, appreciate your time jumping on with us today, and look forward to possibly seeing you at some more shows in the future.
Yeah, I look forward to it as well. It's been a pleasure.
You got it.
Thank you, Dave.
You got it, Joe.
When we talk about essential services, what comes to mind? Police, firefighters, healthcare. But there's another. Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heart? Are you ready to lead the next generation of Parks and Rec? Whether you're a student, intern, or rising leader, welcome to the Young Professionals Network by DPRS Media Co. Our mission? To empower early career professionals in parks and recreation through mentorship, visibility, and real-world leadership development. Our vision? A national network of passionate, prepared, and purpose-driven leaders who shape the future of public service. Starting now. Powered by the Daily Parks and Rec Show, YPN gives you access to exclusive interviews, career-building resources, behind-the-scenes content, and live events, all created by and for the next wave of Parks and Rec professionals. Learn from seasoned directors, build your brand, get involved with national conversations that matter. Whether you're in youth sports, facilities, programming, or policy, YPN is your launchpad. Young Professionals Network. Your career, your community, your story.